what he's saying. This is what he's saying. Brian, cue this fucking thing up, because somebody tweeted me this today, and I just sat there with my mouth open, shaking my head, going, this is a nonsense argument, man. This is a stupid argument. Listen to this. This is about a bust in Florida.
Well,
Real 21.
Check it out, but I have two things to say to you. Look at this. How dare you? And how dare you? Nicky's my friend. You be good to him. Okay, we're keeping drug counselor Shelley Sprague with us for this next story. 28 Palm Beach County high school students were caught by surprise when they were arrested in a drug sting in Florida. The 9-month investigation was called Operation D-. Undercover officers posed as students, befriended the kids, and allegedly brought pot from them. The suspects in the case, of course, need not be said, are innocent until proven guilty, but watch this.
Marijuana is a very debilitating drug. The THC content of marijuana these days with the improved growing methods is much stronger than many years ago.
I doubt that I would live long enough to see the time when it's not necessary, but we're going to keep doing it as long as we need to get drugs out of the streets.
Well, I actually agree with these guys, though I'm always cast as the narc. I'm not a narc. I'm not interested in telling anybody how to live their life, but I'm interested in the health of young people, and this kind of thing is a good idea, don't you think, Shelley?
I do. I think that keeping drugs out of schools at these formative ages are important, and pushing the age of exposure to college age and above, I think, is important. I think that
and there's a lot of misinformation about pot out there. There's this weird cultural energy around the drug, and people are unwilling to accept the fact that it's addictive. It's a different pot than it was 20 years ago.
It's absolutely different. There's withdrawal syndromes involved with it, and I just think people have so much misinformation. I consistently hear people undereducated about what's going on in the drug cultures of today, and the keeping up with the bath salts, keeping up with marijuana, keeping up with all of these changes, legislation changes. I mean, it's a full-time job.
Shelley, thank you. It's always good to see you here. Appreciate it. And I want to just emphasize the fact that cannabis, according to the American Society of Addiction Medicine, not just me, and Shelley and I see this all the time, is addictive. It's one of the more common things we treat these days. It has a rather severe withdrawal syndrome associated with it. And the addictive process is always the same with cannabis. It's somebody who uses just a couple times and then has this, oh my God experience, this is the greatest thing ever, and then preoccupies and uses every day thereafter. Somewhere out there, months or years later, it stops working so well. They start getting irritable, paranoid, not so high anymore. They use a lot more to try to bring the high back, and that's when they get into very serious trouble with the drug and switch to something else. Like, what worries me is bath salts. Tonight was a really interesting night. Please take note about the bath salts. They are out there. If you or someone you love is getting exposed to substances, get help. The sad thing about Corey's story is that this is a treatable thing, completely treatable, and he needn't be walking around in the dangerous condition he is in now. I also want to say that our hopes and wishes are out there for Maria Shriver.
Okay, kill that. What? His hopes and wishes are out for Maria Shriver.
You
so
whore. For them.
You whore.
I hope they get through these terrible times.
You whore.
Like their marriage hasn't been a living hell for the last 20 years.
That's whore-like. Dr. Drew, I love you, but you're a whore. I just have to call you out, dude. This is nonsense talk you say.
So
First of all, what he's saying is that marijuana
There was a lot of information there.
Marijuana is higher today than ever before. Well, yes, it is. It's better. Here's the real statistics, okay? You ready? A long time ago, back in the 1970s, the THC content of the average marijuana was less than 1%. It was weak-ass, shitty weed. The average weed. But since Amelia, if you get some high, potent shit, it's as high as 30%. 14 to 30%. And it was back then, too. You could find some bad motherfuckers back then that got some shit, and they brought it up from South America, and it'll blow your fucking socks off. That's a fact. Yeah, the whack weed back then is weaker than the whack weed today. The whack weed today is about 5%. Okay, but the really strong stuff gets 30, 32, 34 if you got some crazy shit. So it's slightly higher for the highest grade stuff. And the reason why is because there's a lot of scientists and botanists. Here's the point. There's no bodies. No one's dying from this extra potent weed. You know what this extra potent weed? It's getting you higher easier. You only have to take 2 hits instead of 6. Back then they would smoke a whole joint because the joint was made out of dog shit. It was terrible weed. So this is a stupid, stupid argument. Second of all, him saying that it's physically addictive and that there's withdrawal symptoms. Look, there's withdrawal symptoms from gambling, okay? And there's withdrawal symptoms from video games. And there's withdrawal symptoms from coffee. Well, coffee's way worse.
Yeah.
That's a physical withdrawal.
Yeah, you're shaking if you don't get your coffee. If you don't get your weed, you're like, oh, bummer.
And him citing whatever fucking government organization that measures addictive drugs, guess what, man? That's all that stuff is nonsense. There's no real studies being done on how much marijuana withdrawals affects the average person. No, they're not putting people through marijuana and measuring them. Here's the people that have problem with pot. Ready? Losers. The people that have problem with pot, and this was in one of my jokes, one of my CDs, but it's true. If pot fucked up your life, it's just because pot got there first, okay? It could have been cheeseburgers, scratch tickets, the horse races. If a plant that makes you look at the world in a more humble way, it makes food taste better, it makes you silly, it makes you want to love your friends more, makes sex better, makes food taste better. If that fucks up your life, you are an idiot. And it's that simple. And Dr. Drew's not doing anybody any favors in giving idiots a little Band-Aid for their fucking mental problems. Because that's what this is.
Yeah, three of our last three presidents who all admitted to having smoked marijuana, they're suggesting that they should have been arrested in high school for getting involved with it.
It's ridiculous.
It makes no sense. It's so...
He's right in a way that I don't like the idea of drugs in high school because kids don't know what the fuck. They're not making an educated choice. And they're not making it about pot. They're not making it about coke. They're not making it about all kinds of shit that comes their way. And fucking sometimes high school is tough enough, man. I don't advocate you doing anything you don't feel like you're comfortable with. I did a lot of shit in high school. I smoked weed in high school. I got drunk in high school. The drunkest I ever got. Nobody ever taught me how to drink. Nobody ever taught me how much you can drink. So I got super drunk. And my friends threw up in a cab. You know,
yeah, why aren't we sending people undercover to stop kids from drinking in schools?
Yeah, no shit, man. Because
why
it's
is that
a lot more than 28.
Why do we leapfrog to weed, which causes a lot less problems with the kid in their overall lives?
Right. And who are these hormoneless bitches posing as cops that can actually pretend to be 17 and infiltrate this school?
What the fuck?
Meanwhile, if
the kids they were infiltrating were probably too high to notice they were 40.
Beards and shit and canes. People with fucking